Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 204 of the Civil Gore podcast. This is your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And we have a rare Sunday afternoon. It's a balmy 45 degrees here in New York. No, we are recording late because we had a lot of stuff going on this week, but does not mean you are getting any less content. In fact, you're getting more. You're getting a bonus interview this episode with, if you remember, we had him on for Wilford Lane. It was Dante Yore, the director, and also Aimee Stolte, who plays Gemma in the FEAR PHARM series, and we're actually doing FEAR PHARM 2 for tonight's movie. So we got a whole fun episode planned with a great interview.
Yeah, and we will do our horror recap challenge, which, by the way, Brian, we have to remind people, go ahead and submit your horror movie challenge scores. I think we should give a deadline of maybe... Let's see, this episode you're hearing now is dropping on November 8th. I think we should probably give till maybe the end of next week, so November 19th, try to get your score sheets in so we can go ahead and pick a winner for our horror movie challenge.
Yeah, we got Cody's, and I know Jeff Whitmire did it. He needs to send that in, and I think Victoria from Broodery, she was doing the challenge. So yeah, send them in. I mean, just for fun. We actually may be working. I don't want to say what yet because in case this falls through, but we may actually have a really good prize coming in there because of a cool promotion.
Right. Yeah.
That we're trying to work on with a company. So if we get that, I think there's if we get the promotion, I think there's 5 prizes they're giving. We would be able to do. So we could probably put one of those in whatever prize pack we send for this. So yeah.
So definitely get those score sheets in so we can pick a winner. And without further ado, let's go through our first chop because I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. All right, Brian. So I have watched a few things. I took a little bit of a break after the horror movie challenge from horror. So you kind of got to have a little palate cleanser there. So I watched some fun movies. I watched Free Guy. That was pretty cool. I watched just some stuff with Olivia that we hadn't gotten around to watching. I started the latest season of Survivor, so I kind of did some non-horror-y stuff. But I'm kind of starting to get back in that mood again. And the first one up I watched was not a new release. It's from the 70s, but a new for Shudder premiere of The Blood on Satan's Claw. Have you watched this one, Brian?
You got some compliments on that one.
Yeah, this one's from 1971, and it's the typical what you would expect for 1970s British horror. So it's not going to be action-packed. It's going to be a little bit of a slow burn, but it's an interesting film in that most of the time you see these movies and they're about like the witch trials and accusing girls of being witches. Well, in this case, this one takes place a little bit after the witch trial, so people are starting to realize that was that was not a scientific way of thinking, and this was not true, and so they've kind of moved past that. But what happens if you have a town that is basically post-Salem witch trial type era, and they're faced with like incontrovertible proof that these girls really are witches and in league with Satan? So they're kind of in a pickle here because they're trying to move past all that, but yet there's almost overwhelming evidence that these girls are in league with Satan. And that was a interesting premise, I thought. And it does have a little bit of a Wicker Man vibe to it because you have this, really all the young people in town are under the spell of this, whatever it is, this supernatural influence. There's a little bit of body horror in this one, actually, because the girls that are subject to this pact with Satan or whatever is going on, they grow like this patch of hair on their bodies. They call it, can't remember what they call it. It's not Satan's fur, but it's like Satan's hair or something.
So it's not, there's not literal blood on Satan's claw. It's hair on Satan's leg.
Yeah, they get really hairy. So I don't know. It's some kind of weird hair thing, and there's like some body horror associated with that. But it's an interesting film. Not as good as The Wicker Man, but if you kind of like that same style, that that isolated village dealing with a supernatural influence, and some really great performances by the young actress that does she's like the lead of this Satan cult or whatever is going on. It's a lot of fun. So I definitely recommend checking that one out while it's on Shudder. That is The Blood on Satan's Claw from 1971. Next up, I've also been hitting Shudder pretty hard because they've got their a lot of their original programming coming out, and of course, Boulet Brothers Dragula is back for another season. I've always enjoyed that show, and the new season's really good.
What was the name of the character we were laughing at?
Sigourney Beaver.
That's right. Because we love Bitch Puddin'.
We love Bitch Puddin'. Yeah, Sigourney Beaver is actually a female drag queen, which is interesting. She's you get all genders and races in drag, but female drag queens are a little bit more rare. It was really interesting to see the dynamic with her, and there's a transgender drag queen this year. It's really, really a fascinating show. I love the dynamics between all the contestants. I love the creations. I love the challenges. They do some really crazy eliminations. If you've ever watched Boulet Brothers before, they not only, the bottom two contestants are always up for elimination, but they always do some crazy thing. Like in this one, there's one thing where they get buried alive. The last two get buried alive. There's one where they have to stick their arm in leeches. I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on for the elimination. So definitely check out Boulet Brothers. I believe it's season 4 on Shudder. And then the final one I watched, Brian, which I have not caught up yet because the second episode just landed, but the new Shudder series Behind the Monsters, which takes a look at famous horror icons. The first episode was about Michael Myers, so they go into all the detail about how the mask was created and the influence he had in all the movies. I mean, it's really, really, if you're a horror fan, it's really just a very captivating documentary. Look at these horror icons. And the second episode is Candyman. And I have not watched that one yet, so I am really excited. It looks like a great series. First episode was really, really fun, even though, as a big Halloween fan, I knew most of the trivia and stuff that they unveiled, but it's still fascinating because you get to see interviews with all the creators and how they went about creating it and stuff. So if you're a horror fan, definitely check out Behind the Monsters.
Yeah, I think we have some screeners of that, right? So we could get a little ahead, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. So I think before we go into, I did watch the Paranormal Activity Next of Kin, but we're going to be featuring that as our next movie for the week after this. So I don't want to discuss it until then. I'll save it for them. But I did watch it. And then before I think we get into our little recap of the horror challenge, I think we should discuss, we got to finally, our group, the group, and we have some questions for you too. We have some homework. Yes. For our listeners. So basically, as you know, we had the round table that got like tons of feedback, positive feedback. Like everyone was telling me how much they loved that format of it, of you, me, and we brought in our good friends Ken and Cone into Ken and Cone. That's the way it sounds. That sounds like a ice cream shop, doesn't it? Like
yes, it
Ken
does.
and Cone. But yeah, no. So we had them on to do a round table, which we're going to do again, of course, because by popular demand. But so we have two things for you. The two homework items. One, Tim and I thought we want a cool name for when the four of us do that, because we also play, obviously play games a lot together online. And even though the full four of us have never been in the same room together, in fact, Cone has never met anybody but me.
Isn't that weird? Person. Yeah, like I've never met Cone in person.
But I've been in the room with Ken a couple times. Yeah, but what we need to do is, we want a catchy name for the four of us. So we're challenging you to that, but also we want you to pick the next movie you think. I mean, we originally said we wanted it to be a big movies, but I mean, I don't think we necessarily need to keep it at that. It doesn't have to be like the level of Halloween Kills.
Right.
It could be something else, just a movie that you want us to do in that format. So you have your two homework assignments there. to do that. And, you can either let us know of social media, send us an MP3 if you're really passionate about your choices, or just, send us an email or whatever. I know lately we've been busy and we haven't got back. I know, so if you're David Terry, I know we owe you an email back. You sent us something cool, a cool email about a new movie. I want to get back to you on that. I just have not had a chance. It's been a crazy week work-wise and stuff. But we did get to try, all of us, finally, we got around. We haven't played in so long, so we finally, made it a point last night. We all wanted to try Back 4 Blood, and of course that's a kind of what did Cone tell us? It's like the pseudo-sequel to Left 4 Dead?
It's the same developers as Left 4 Dead, but I don't think they have the rights to Left 4 Dead. So it's sort of like the same developers branched off and created
like a spiritual
this game.
sequel.
So it's a spiritual successor, but it's still kind of legit because it's the same people that developed Left 4 Dead series.
Ah, okay. And it is fun. And of course, it stars like this. If you ever wanted to play Barbara Crampton in a video game, this is the game for you. Because I kind of commandeered the game. Because the way I look at it is, that saying it always says oh, if you could be Batman, be Batman. To me, it's like if you could be Barbara Crampton, you be Barbara Crampton. So I jumped ahead to get the Barbara Crampton character. She plays Mom in this, which is a really cool, older, tougher matriarch of the initial team, and you can unlock other characters. But I mean, it plays like Tim and I kind of compared it a little bit to Outriders in the format of the way there's these giant creatures, and it is a fun game. But Tim and I have one major criticism: this game, not to, for lack of a better word, kind of cheats.
Oh, it cheats so hard. I mean, it cheats ridiculous. So hard.
It people literally the zombies and these giant creatures will come from behind, and which is okay, but inexplicably, it's you clear the level and all of a sudden these giant creatures come out from behind when you're supposed to be advancing, and it's weird. I don't know if that was always its intention. And it seems like the hardest creatures always seem to come when you're in the worst spot ever. And it's if we're all down to a little bit lower health and ammo, which seems to you seem to have when you have it, you're running across it all the time, but when you're low on it, you can't find the right ammo that you need. So that's probably intentional. They wanted to do an intentional challenge. But the funniest thing is, so we thought we were all slick, and we were trying to do this level where we're okay, well, we know that big medical box is over in this little shed over here. Well, it is not, because they change it up, and that's what I do like, though. I do like that they change it up, make it that challenging. What I don't like is when things kind of appear where it doesn't really make sense for them to appear, so to speak.
Yeah,
what did it take us 6 tries to get past that stupid thing last night?
Yeah, because there's certain things that trigger a horde, and when a horde is triggered, basically they just dump zombies on top of you. But that's where the game really starts cheating, because it will just spawn stuff right on top of you.
Yeah,
wherever your back's turned, that's where a zombie is going to spawn right on top of you. So it's hard. It's a very challenging game, and we played. We had a full 4-man team, which is required, and it was still extremely difficult. But it's a great game. It's a lot of fun.
It is a great game. I recommend highly, and if it's on Game Pass, it's a no-brainer to download, because you essentially download it for free. I say free because you obviously pay the monthly fee, but Game Pass to me is one of the best deals out there. With the amount of games you get, it's to me for what is it, $16 a month for that and the PC one. With you and I did that one, right? It's the no-brainer. $16 a month, and all you get so many games all the time. But yeah, it's great. And the funny thing, there's of course there's typical it may not be as funny as kicking Cone around as Jason, but his corpse around when you're Jason. But there was a funny moment where somehow poor Ken, his character was dying, and he was hanging off of a crevasse, as Ketrin likes to say, and he was hanging there, but so no one could go revive him. But my idea, I think, was but everyone was it was such a chaos because all the zombies coming. I'm if you just let me shoot him, he'll probably fall down. He's already dying. He's not gonna die more. So, but by the time we did it, it was too late. But then at one point, I got knocked into the river, so the water there, so nobody could come rescue me. I was literally, poor Barbara Crampton drowned in the off the side of the bridge there, because you're, as Cohn puts it, a George Washington Bridge, because it's definitely not the George Washington Bridge. But yeah, it is a game I highly recommend. It's really fun. You could do the tutorial, which is not much of a tutorial. It's kind of like to just throw you in with 3 bots, and you kind of learn the system on your own. Tutorial is very lax term for this.
Yeah, they basically say the tutorial is you just playing the game.
Yeah, it's just you playing the game and getting it. But it does good, because you do get, like, there was stuff where I could, like, by playing it, I knew how to do some things, like, add how to manipulate the card system. They give you these certain cards you can do, and you can you kind of know how you can buy stuff mid game by collecting the little brass or copper things, which are kind of used as currency. But and the graphics are amazing. And I will say, the one thing I thought was very impressive, and you and I have played a ton of games online, and we've played with this group a ton of games online, no slowdown at all, I found. And if I know glitches really, other than the one bit where Cohn was just trying to load in the beginning, that was it. And remember how many trouble that one game we played, literally it was like 2 hours of one of us not being able to get into a room.
Yeah, no, it was actually pretty good, especially since I was playing on PC,
right?
And everyone else was playing on Xbox, and we could play crossplay, which is super cool.
Yeah, and it was seamless crossplay.
Total seamless. It was really
good.
Good.
So yeah, definitely go out there, get Back for Blood, and be your inner Barbara Crampton, and bring because Barbara Crampton is one of the best, as you know. So it's cool she's in a video game. So I guess now, after that said, I think we should go into our little horror challenge recap, which Tim and I both were successful and got to the end. But of course, we're not eligible for prize. We just do it for pride points and not to be embarrassed by running a horror podcast and not being able to complete our own challenge. But so I guess what we should do is I will want to say first, before we go into our things, is thanks to like everybody that participated and shared their stuff this year. This was definitely, I think, our most participatory year, don't you think, Tim?
Yeah, by far. It was our biggest horror challenge yet. In terms of participation, in terms of feedback, I think it was definitely a big hit. This thing just keeps growing and getting bigger and better every single year.
Yeah. And like Jeff Whitmire was really in on it. So, Jeff, if you're listening, you have 1 year to make a official horror challenge song for part 6.
Yeah.
For our horror challenge 6. We want a award-winning Jeff Whitmire song. And we should say, actually, while I do that, if you have not heard his Midsummer song,
are fantastic.
You missing a gem?
Yeah. That one's great.
It's like Jeff Whitmire perfection there, and it is so good. Such a great thing. So you look at we shared the link, but you can go on our page or Jeff Whitmire's page and check it out. It's an amazing thing. So I guess Tim, I guess we'll go through just some of the we'll let you go first. Give you some of the surprises you found in it that you discovered, or some of the really cool like hidden gems in your journey through the challenge.
Okay, so this was a great challenge in that I probably watched more good than bad. And, and this challenge is always difficult because sometimes when you're trying to, number one, Brian and I put in the self-imposed challenge of watching stuff we've never seen before.
Right.
Which gets difficult because a lot of these objectives, you start going and you go, oh, well, I know a horror film that has more than 10 kills, but I've seen every one of them, So you have to really start, digging, scraping the bottom of the barrel, trying to find these things. And sometimes that means you're watching some real crap, some real garbage. I was fortunate enough this time around that the bulk of my stuff I actually really, really enjoyed. Probably the biggest objective that really surprised me was the Maniac Cop Trilogy, because I had never seen that before. And I absolutely loved it. Now, Maniac Cop 3 was definitely the worst of the trilogy. But Maniac Cop 1 and 2...
Hence why there's no Maniac Cop 4.
Yeah, exactly. But Maniac Cop 1 and 2 were fantastic. I absolutely loved them. Loved every minute of it. So that is a great... maybe... I will definitely get these on Blu-ray at some point. Maybe 3 will be lagging behind a little bit. But 1 and 2 for sure I've got to grab, because...
and they just came out, right? They just came out with new versions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they just came out with new versions. So that was probably my, biggest surprise. I had some other ones here listed that I had highlighted. One called Halloween Party from last year. This was one of those that you find on Amazon Prime. I was just looking for a movie that had Halloween in the title.
Yeah.
And it was a really great little low budget movie. I was really, really shocked. It had some really cool concepts. It had some really great performances by the two leads. And it was one of those I had absolutely zero expectation for, and I just absolutely loved it. If we go into more bigger budget movies or more maybe mainstream movies, The Killing of a Sacred Deer from 2017 was insanely good. The leads in there were just amazing. It is such a bleak movie. I would definitely recommend that one, but it's one of those. It's definitely not a feel-good movie by any means.
No, I had watched it after KK Sam did it on their episode. I wanted to see it after that. Yeah, that's a tough one to watch, but good.
Yeah, very, very good. Let's see what else here we got. Of course, Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's right. You got to finally watch that for the
challenge.
Finally
got to watch that one, yeah. That's one I had started a while back when it first came out and then had never finished, so I finished it for the challenge. Absolutely love that one. Got a Mark Patton like on the review for that one, which is great.
Yeah, and that one, it's like if you're just a human being, you can't help but feel like an emotional impact of that documentary. That just like, you see what he's go through, and he's so genuine and like with his telling of his tales through it, that it's like you can't help but like just feel kind of feel the what he's going through.
Yeah, that one's very, very emotional movie. You guys know how I love my 70s horror, so I have a couple of 70s horror here, actually 3 that I would like to point out. The first one was Sisters from 1972. This one was really, really good. This one has the great Margot Kidder, super young Margot Kidder in this one, and she is so good in it. That one's a really kind of a psychological horror. And the other 2 were Messiah of Evil from 1973. This one's cool. This one is about a woman that is basically searching for her dad who has gone missing in this seaside town. And she keeps getting these communications from him that are just increasingly erratic and strange. So she goes to investigate him. And this is like, I've said it a couple times. I think even when I tweeted it, it feels like Carnival of Souls meets Night of the Living Dead.
Oh,
it's got very surreal dream imagery like Carnival of Souls, but it's got zombies like Night of the Living Dead, and it's just really, really cool. And the other one was Prophecy from 1979, not to be confused with the Christopher Walken Angel vehicle. Prophecy 1979 is about mutant bears, and this thing has some of the best practical effects for a 1979 movie. I mean, they are like the mutant bears in this movie are so freaking cool. That alone is worth watching. It plays out sort of like a Jaws clone, but I would highly recommend this one just for the practical effects. It is so good. So there was a lot of I had some that I would put on the bottom. I'm not going to mention them here because I don't want to be negative. So I'm not gonna go through the ones that I would.
Well,
say
we know one we both watched that we both 50 points is worth it, but was it done? And everybody came out in support of us. Yes. We are rarely super negative, but there was one where we negative, and I was afraid to comment on it because I didn't want to sound like, oh, I'm not for the cause, because I get the cause, but
right, yeah.
And we won't mention it because you probably all know what we're talking about based off if you follow us on their social media. But Tim warned me, and I still went right through because I'm like, you know what? I was at that point, I was kind of like getting crunch time for the challenge, and I'm like, you know what? I need just one. I can't think too deeply into this one anymore. I just need to get this one off, and I kind of forgot that this existed.
Yeah.
Was it not? Well, that's for another day. Maybe that'll be like maybe that'll be a scare battle, though. That and another really polarizing kind of a remake or something.
Yeah, that could be for sure.
That might be a great one. But yeah, we'll you all know what we're talking about.
I'm gonna mention one more here. Just because it's a lot of fun. This was King Cobra from 1999.
I actually saw that a while ago.
It's an 80s monster movie that somehow got made in 1999 with Pat Morita and Hoyt Axton and a cameo by Eric Estrada. I mean, it's so ridiculous.
That alone makes it worth watching, though. Those 3 people you just mentioned.
Yeah, and it feels so 80s, but it's 1999. I can't even believe it. Like, I could almost believe it if it was like early 90s or mid 90s, but it's 1999. Like, it was not that long ago. It doesn't seem, I mean, I know it's 20 years ago, but it doesn't feel like that long ago. And yet it just has this charm to it. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's just a lot of fun. If you ever want to see Pat Morita, as a snake expert. I mean, what more can you say?
What do you mean? What do you mean if you ever wanted to? Who doesn't want to?
I know.
I mean, come on, it's like...
I mean, he did fight Cobra Kai, so he knows a lot about Cobra.
Yeah, like, I mean, think about it. That's like the perfect little hidden, like, synergy in there of, like, that,
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'd see Pat Morita do anything. That guy's awesome, whatever you put him in. But, yeah. So, yeah, I kind of had the same way. I think I saw... This... I have to say, I want to pat ourselves on the back just a little bit, Tim. I think we cultivated a really good challenge this year for the fact of the variety of movies that you could get to watch based off of our unique little challenge objectives. Like, I really liked the documentary one because, you and I are big fans of documentaries, period. Mm-hmm. And horror documentaries seem to be some of the best that are out there. So, and that was one of my highlights where I watched the Growing Up with I Spit on Your Grave, which came full circle, actually, because there was a lot of talk in that about not only the original, but some of the remakes and how it went in. And, of course, then we had Stephen Monroe on, who did the 1 and 2 remakes, and then about his new movie, which was amazing, and I used for the challenge, too. So I kind of looped the whole thing in there. I had a whole great thing. And that was that Harlan Manor was one of my favorite movies, actually, the challenge, too, which I thought was really good. That was the Tubi original one. That one was great. I finally got to see the Warlock trilogy, which was always on my list of I need to see. And I bought that great Vestron set, which Vestron always gives out those really good priced, those nice sets like that. So I think I got it was the 3-pack for like $16 or $17 on Amazon or something on Blu-ray. So that was great. I loved the Warlock series. I was so glad. I mean, definitely. The first 2 were better than the third, kind of similar to the Maniac Cop Trilogy, although the third one did have Ashley Lawrence, so that gets major bonus points. But, the missing Julian Sands kind of is like, that's a little bit of a...
It's always tough when they, like, they don't bring back, like, the core actor of a
it was total different, like, different feel from the third one to the other 2. The first one definitely had that cool 80s zany, like, little bit of comedy to it with Laurie Singer in it. It was still, I love that series. So glad I bought that set. So that was like kind of another great one. I finally got to see, of course, the Demons 1 and 2, which I had never seen, always wanted to, and I absolutely loved both of those. That between those 2 covered a bunch, like a handful of objectives there. That was really good. I finally was able to see Dead Night. With that's that one that AJ Bowen was talking about.
That one was crazy,
right?
Good.
And that was a good movie too. I loved that movie. I was so that was one of those ones where I expected high and it exceeded it. Just because of that cast. I mean, Bree Grant, Sophie Dalla, Barbara Crampton. I mean, of course, AJ Bowen. I mean, it was such a good, it was everything that you would think they would all bring to that movie, they all brought, So it's like, that's I'd highly recommend that. I think it's on Tubi, too, so you can definitely catch that pretty easily. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones real quick. Oh, The Loved Ones blew me away, and that was for the Final Guy challenge, which is quite difficult to find in a movie, especially in a movie that you haven't seen. You're trying to struggle. You have to kind of Google, and hopefully you get something that's not spoiled. That one was a true surprise. Absolutely loved that one. Lake Mungo was another one I've always kind of wanted to see.
Lake Mungo's great.
Yeah, I've heard so many good things. Got to see that. Same with the Poughkeepsie tapes, like stuff like that. There were movies that I just had kind of on my list that I never got to see, and this challenge just seemed like was able to kind of fit that and really brought that out. I'm trying to think of some other one. Let me see, because I was looking at the score sheet. I should probably go look at the actual thing. Oh, like We Summon the Darkness. I wanted to see that 13 Fanboy, that one with the Friday the 13th, where Dee Wallace is in it. And basically the actual Friday the 13th actresses are kind of stalked by a kill, so that was really cool. Quiet Place Part 2 I finally got to see because I was waiting, but Julie hadn't seen the first one yet, and I'm like, I kind of want to see it. I need it for the challenge. I watched it and was completely impressed as much as I was for the first one. Yeah, no, this challenge was really, really good. I mean, of course, there were some duds in there. One positive, of course, was Fear Farm 2, which we're about to talk about. But, that was a positive one, too. Old, of course, which we discussed in the show, that was in there. But overall, it was just like there was a lot of good. Oh, and that cool one I discovered on Shudder, that Just Before Dawn, that George Kennedy vehicle. kind of like a very wrong turnish, kind of late 70s, or maybe early 80s slash. I can't remember the exact year, but it features George Kennedy on a horse. So I mean, come on.
Well, I'll watch George Kennedy in anything, but then you put him on a horse and it takes it to a next level.
You've got like magic, you know. So yeah, so that one was kind of fun. And I saw that one of our friends on social media, the Halloween fan 79, he's just watched it too, and he really thought it was cool too, and it was kind of creepy. And and if you look at my list, it also has Spryle instead of Spiral because I misspelled, and stupid autocorrect couldn't fix it for some reason. That it doesn't fix. It fixes everything else I want correct. It fixes to something not what I wanted, but can't fix Spiral. Come on. But yeah, overall, I thought this challenge, I really like it just hit a lot of good notes. A couple of duds in there, which, like Tim said, we won't really mention because that's what it's not about. But I hope everyone, like people that like saw, like especially Jeff Whitmire was posting about something about our challenge like every 2 minutes, so it was great. And I saw a lot of interest. Like I think a lot of people next year will even join in because of the excitement that he had with it. And it's, like I'm like looking at it and I'm like, as I'm doing it, I'm like, if I was like kind of on the outside and not have seen what this is and I see all these cool objectives people are doing, I'd be so curious. I'd be like, I gotta try this thing. This looks fun. So, and let me tell you, it is stressful, but it is kind of fun at the same time. Like I know Cody always tells us how much she loves it every year. And she always like starts off with such a bang. And she like goes like with like by like the second day, she's got like 9 movies knocked off and 10 objectives, 20 objectives, whatever she's got.
It's one of those that I think you have to, don't approach it as work. Approach it as an opportunity to have a reason to sit down and watch some movies you haven't seen before or that you want to revisit or however you want to do it. But I find without fail, every single year, I find movies that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
That I would have not watched without the horror challenge.
Yeah, basically way more positives come out of this than a negative.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We're not going to promise you're not going to find the occasional dud and you're regretting watching this film only because it happens to have well, no, because I was going to say I used a really good one for the piece of cake one where it had a featured cake in it, which seemed to be that was like the stuck point on a couple of people. But mine was Demons too. I used that, and I did give that hint out during the dismemberment when it talked about a birthday party. That's the things you look for, and that's the thing. The more you do the challenge, you have a little bit more clues on kind of where to zero in on your film. But like sometimes you have a really weird objective, and. Like okay, for example, not to bash it because obviously there's some great ones, but most likely you've seen that one. So for Tim and I, self-imposed rule, like the one with Amityville in the title, yeah, your odds of you getting a good one are probably on the slimmer side. Although you got lucky because I had seen the one you picked already, so I could not.
And it was not bad. It was not.
And it wasn't bad. No, it was good. It's got Diane Franklin in it, right? Oh no, you saw the one with Bella Thorne or Diane Franklin? I can't remember.
It was the one that was more about the DeFeos.
You saw the Diane Franklin one. Yeah,
I think it was the Diane Franklin one.
Yeah, there's a couple of good ones in there. So I'm not going to say, not like ever since past the first couple, there's no good ones. No, there are some good ones sprinkled in, but there's also, like, the one I watched was not so much. But anyway, so next year, we definitely hope more people join, do this challenge because we have a ball with it, and we love seeing other people's reactions to it. So I always want to do like another one like mid-year, like a mid-year Halloween or another type. I mean, we teased with the holiday horror challenge, but I think it's just too close, Yeah,
it's too close. We threatened a Hallmark movie challenge, a Hallmark Christmas movie challenge, but we won't do that to you. At least not this year.
Don't wait to do, but I do want to kind of do another one at some point, like a mid-year type of deal, something. Maybe we'll do something like that, like next.
Like some mini one. You could do like a mini one, like it wouldn't be necessarily 31 movies. You could do I don't know. We'll think about it.
I did see someone do once. I think it might have been Crystal from Horror Nights In. She did the 12 Days of Christmas one, where she just did 12 holiday horror movies and count them. But I think she did it from like the last 12 days. So like that's kind of hard. I'm like traveling during that point. You're here with family. You really
don't hard to do holidays.
Stop and watch like horror movies when you're trying to be with family and stuff. So, but we'll think of something coming up. Definitely, maybe we'll do a March horror challenge.
Yeah.
The Ides, we'll call it the Ides of March.
Yeah, summer's
challenge.
hard because we're doing the slaycation, and we're
Yeah,
all,
so maybe
that's
that's
like a horror movie challenge in and of itself for us.
Just for us, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do the Ides of March challenge, because there's a 31-day month again. So maybe
Yeah,
we'll just
that's
do.
cool. Yeah, we could do that.
But it's a little bit. It will make it a little obviously not the same so much like where you have crazy objectives kind of a thing. We may make it more traditional or something. But we'll get back to you on it.
Yeah, we'll think about it. All right, guys, so let's get to our interview with Dante Yore, who is the writer-director of Fear Farm 2, and actress Aimee Stolte, who plays Gemma in the film. And we're just delighted to have them on. Of course, we are big fans of the franchise, as you guys know, and we've become pretty good friends with these guys on social media, and we're very grateful for their support of our show. And
Yes.
I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun with this one. All right, guys, so we have here with us today director Dante Yore and actress Aimee Stolte to discuss the highly anticipated sequel, Fear Farm 2. So welcome to the show, guys. And before we get into the film, tell our listeners a little bit about yourselves.
Well, hello, listeners. My name is Aimee Stolte, as Tim already mentioned, and I play Gemma in, I'm an actress, obviously. I play Gemma in the Fear Farm franchise. So Fear Farm 1 and reprise the role in Fear Farm 2. And I live in Los Angeles, California. I'm a dual Canadian-US citizen. Woohoo! And yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Dante Yore. I am a director and cinematographer and I guess writer. And I've been in the film industry for about a decade. Prior to that, I was in the commercial industry doing a bunch of commercials that you guys have probably seen if you ever bought a Cadillac or some other fancy car. I did a lot of car commercials. I don't know why it just worked out that way. Like once you do one car commercial, everybody's like, do our car commercial. So I did a bunch of car commercials. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. I started as a cinematographer, as a director of photography. I did about 50 feature films. And then I don't know, along the way, I got offers to direct films and I started doing that. And then that turned into writing my own films and directing those. And so I've done that. And now I'm directing some TV shows and other things as well. And that's kind of my background. And then, yeah, I'm the writer and director of Fear Farm, the franchise so far, because it keeps going.
Yes, well, we hope so. And just to clarify, yeah, Tim and I know of Cadillacs, but with our podcast where it is right now, we barely can afford to ride in one, let alone buy one. So, but we
podcasts don't make Cadillac money, that's for sure.
Yeah, they don't. They make like Toyota money, you know. But yeah, we do enjoy watching. We probably enjoy watching the commercials though, so that would be good. So this is a question for you both. So you've collaborated before, of course, on the Fear Farm franchise, which I will now call it, just because I'm going to be as hopeful as you guys that goes forward. And Dante, I know you have the photography that you do a lot, and I see a lot of the pictures, and I know Aimee, you've done that. So what's it like working together? Or any benefits, challenges?
I mean, I met Aimee. God, I met Aimee like 5-6 years ago on a film set. So we did a movie. I was the director of photography on a movie called Wounded, and Aimee was actually the lead in that movie, and that's actually how we met each other, which was really cool. And I think like it just in pre-production, we kind of just, you know, personality wise, like clicked and, you know, totally just got each other as artists. And then that's kind of, you know, continued on a little bit in, you know, our careers. I think that's kind of like I don't know, that's kind of like a big thing. I mean, you see that a lot, I think, with directors like, you know, Christopher Nolan will use the same people over and over again, or Quentin Tarantino. And it's just one of those things where as you start meeting, I guess, actors and collaborators that you feel confident with, you kind of just, you know, go back to the well a lot. I mean, I do a lot of casting in my films, but still there are just certain roles where when I'm writing them or thinking about them, that instantly I go back to certain actors I know where I'm just like, they would be perfect for this. This is basically their role if they want it. And then there's other roles that are kind of left open to the whole, you know, audition and casting process. But yeah, I mean, Aimee's a phenomenal actress. She's never let me down. I've put her in a bunch of nice stuff.
You have
So
to
I guess
say that because I'm on here.
Yeah, no, it's not. You can just look at IMDb and realize how many like things we've done together. So I mean, we're definitely, it's kind of like John Littlefield. John Littlefield plays Herschel Walker. I mean, I've done 3 feature films with John as one of my leads, and he's phenomenal. And I met him on a set of a slapstick comedy called Ball Busters with Jerry O'Connell, and that's how I met John Littlefield. I was the cinematographer for that movie, and he was fantastic too. So it's just one of those things, you start meeting people, you gravitate towards them, and you just pull them into future projects and just keep working with them.
Yeah, I really can't help but echo what Dante said. And as far as, from an actor standpoint goes, you work with a director and you get their vibe and you get the way they talk and the way they do things. And so each film after that actually gets, even with the challenges that always come on any new film, it gets easier. It just gets easier when you continue to work with the same director. Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely got a good knack for getting some great people in his films. I'll say that.
He does. Yeah. And he's super fun to work with too. He brings a lot of passion and positive energy to the projects always. So I'm sure that there's a lot of stresses that he feels, but I've never felt that on set with him. So
see, and you're just saying that because I'm on this call.
No, I feel that way.
So guys, let's get into the world of Fear Farm. I just actually attended my first corn maze ever this year,
Nice.
which is super fun. Yeah, that was really cool. I'm kind of sad I missed out on it all these years, but I didn't know there was one near us, and there's actually like a 13-acre one only about 45 minutes from us, so we got to do that this year. That was pretty cool. But so speaking of Fear Farm, Dante, when you first began to write the first movie, did you ever envision this as a franchise type series? Did you ever envision a sequel, or was it just a one shot originally?
This was just like originally with Fear Farm. This was just kind of a one-shot thing. So Fear Farm came about with Marcus Allen and Howard Bird, the producers on Fear Farm. I've actually worked with them on a couple films. So the first film I met them on was Apparition with Kevin Pollak and Mina Savari. And we all clicked. I mean, I'd never worked with them before. We did a feature together. I was a cinematographer on that one, and we just clicked really well. And then, I think it was like maybe a year and a half later, I got a call from them, and they were like, hey, we want to, round out the year kind of last minute and do a film, working around ideas. We'd love to do like a horror, and we want to do something with that. And we kind of all collaborated on the idea of Fear Farm. And so Fear Farm was just kind of this thing that we all threw in ideas about and said, like, let's come up with something. And they came up with some ideas, I came up with some ideas, and then I ended up, writing like the script that you guys see in the film. But it was definitely a full collaboration with Marcus Allen and Howard Bird on the first Fear Farm. But again, it was just kind of rounding out the year. They wanted to try to get one more movie in before they finished out their year. And they kind of just talked to me and asked if I'd be interested in directing. And then we kind of just built it from there. But I really didn't think, the first Fear Farm was shot on a very modest budget. It was not anything like to, write home about. And so we kind of just, at the time thought it was like a one and done, and that was going to be it. And I left it open-ended, but I really didn't. I just wanted to give it like an extra sad ending. I just wanted everybody kind of, it's a horror movie. I want everybody to be bummed out a little bit at the end that like the villains kind of won. And that was it. And then, I mean, beyond that with Fear Farm, the weird thing that kind of helped us was my approach to writing the script was like twofold. One was we didn't have a big budget. So I was like, we can't do just straight horror. We kind of make it like a horror comedy, because there's going to be things in practical effects or things we want to do that we're just not going to be able to afford to do well. So we might as well just poke fun at ourselves and poke fun at kind of like B horror movies a little bit and at least lean into it. And that kind of led us down that path. And then my other kind of exercise when I was writing the script was if I could like have some villains in the film and your normal, like, kids that go into a corn maze or just a, Texas Chainsaw, anything, wind up somewhere bad and killers come out and start hunting them down. And I wanted to see if somewhere along the way I could flip it so the audience actually liked the killers and kind of like enjoyed what they were doing. And so it was this weird exercise I just tried with this. And it seemed to work out because people actually really liked Gemma and really liked Herschel Walker, even though they're murdering everybody. So that was kind of a fun thing. And then from there, it just, it grew into a second one. There's going to be more of them. It was one of those things. Indican really was excited about the first one. It did, better than they thought it was going to do, which was really cool. And then now the second one's, I guess doing pretty well. So that's great. So I'm sure there's going to probably be like a 3, potentially a 4 or 5. I don't know how long till I get off this train, but I've told everybody I will definitely do 3 Fear Farms. And then after that, we'll see where the story goes from there. And if there's like, an interest to do like 4, 5, 6, and 7, or if I just, hand over the reins to somebody. I mean, John Littlefield, who plays Herschel Walker's, told me if I ever like walk away from directing Fear Farms, he would love to direct one himself. So we'll see if it goes that direction someday.
Yeah, awesome. I rewatched it today, and that's one of the things I love about the series is the balance between the horror and the humor.
Yeah, I mean, I think me and my little brothers, we kind of all have this dark sense of humor, and we've just always been that way. And I think that kind of like, lended a little bit to the Fear Farm world of just like, can we throw some like humor in these moments, on both sides, both the villains and our, non-villains, and can we have some fun with it? And yeah, I think for the most part, it plays out really well. A ton of my jokes get cut all the time. I mean, I don't get final cut with these films. The first Fear Farm, I think, was like 2.5 hours. The second Fear Farm was, about 2.5, like the first cut of it. And they both wound up around like 77, 80 minutes. Because at the end of it, as a director, I can make a 4-hour movie if they'll let me, and they won't. But there's so many jokes that like hit the cutting room floor. And yeah, there's so much riddled in there. And sometimes it's not even that they're just like not funny or not landing. Sometimes like my jokes are just a little bit too far, either religiously or politically or something else. And the producers are like, no way, we're not going to, like, you're not clearing this joke. We're taking it out. Like, this is too far. So yeah, but it's a good mix, I think.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to talk to Mark and Howard. We had them on once. We're going to, for the first one. So I'm going to make sure they let you, I want Fear Farm 3 to be like a Dances with Wolves epic, like 3 hours, so.
The director's cut.
Someday, maybe years from now, there'll be like director's cuts of Fear Farm that like come out, and you can watch like the 2-hour and 45-minute versions of them. I guess if they get popular enough.
The Yore cut. I'm gonna start that. Cut. We're gonna start the hashtag, the Yore cut, going on social media now. We're gonna get that going for you.
I love that.
Yeah. They all exist. I get a cut. The very first cut I get to do myself, so it's always like really long. And then the producers watch it, and everybody watches it, and they're like, "Okay, this is way too long," and then they have to chop it down. But all those cuts already exist. They are already there. So nice. Yeah, someday if you guys don't get them, maybe I'll just like email you guys like links to them, and you guys can like watch them.
We would love that. That would be awesome. And so one of the things too, I think you had mentioned this too. What makes I think the movie so strong is it's the great characters. And this question is for Aimee. So of course, one of the standout characters is Gemma. She's I like from the first one and the second one, she's even better. I just think it's such a great character because she's a villain, but you can't help but not like just love the stuff she does in this. So what can you talk a little bit about like what kind of motivation you use for portraying her?
Well, first of all, thanks for saying all that, because you never know how an audience is gonna like perceive, even though you love the character yourself. When Dante wrote her, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to do this. This is so much fun. So when it comes to, I guess, a motivation with her, I don't know if I'll answer this probably more indirectly than directly, but one of the things that I'd say I found that I absolutely loved the most about her, so there's kind of 2 aspects to her that really stick out to me. And one is she is extremely determined, and she lives in this family of massive, big, strong guys, and is kind of surrounded in like the only female with her mom gone, right? With all these men and all this male energy and that kind of thing. And so I have always found just roles like that in general fairly attractive. Someone who kind of pushes to level up and go above and beyond her surroundings, but especially the limitations that she could find herself in there. And then the other aspect is her childlikeness that I just adore. And that when it comes to any of there's the points where she gets pissed off and she's ready to go to war, and that's always really fun. But then there's also the points where it's just super fun for her to be torturous, and to kill people. And although, of course, that's not, I'm not like, woo, killing people, but just bringing out the playfulness in her is, I mean, a blast. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what's so entertaining is that like the scene when specifically, I mean, a little spoiler I guess, but when like Tiana spots you again for the first time and she goes running towards you and you just go like, oh, like this like goody goo, oh, I'm gonna get to fight kind of a thing. I just that's such a perfect portrayal of that character. Like that's what you would expect. Like you'd expect nothing different. And you just played that character so well, I think. And it's like it was like you were made to play that character.
Thank you. That means a lot. A big thing that was important for me was that she wasn't a caricature, or like that I didn't play her like a psycho or anything like that. It's just the way she is the way she is, and what she does is what she does. She's clearly a sociopath at the very least. But there's no like, sometimes you watch films or watch portrayals of stuff and it can be a little over the top or anything like that. And I'm like, dude, she just wants to play. Like, this is super fun for her.
No, it's great. And she's got depth. I mean, she has the depth of trying to, finish her mother's work. She wants to succeed. And there's she's got the drive. She's got the, the little bit of craziness, but also the playfulness. It all mixes in at the perfect time. So just overall,
it really does.
It just works really well.
Yeah. And it's really easy. I'm not saying this just to tout Dante because he's on this and he's the writer director of it, but I will take a moment to do that because with talented writing and with well thought out characters, it makes it, any actor can say this, it makes it so much easier on us. It just feels like it can just spill out sometimes, which is a great joy. So thanks, Dante.
That's awesome.
The funny thing with Aimee is Aimee in real life is this like sweet Canadian girl, and like all of her acting roles are not like what she's like in real life at all. So it's really fun from like a director point of view, like know the person and then see the actor, because she's just like the polar opposite of like a Gemma, but she plays it so brilliantly, and it's so great to like even watch more like filming just the way she does things, where it's just it's amazing to see that transformation. She does such a brilliant job of the character.
Thank you.
Yeah, you see that a lot, where all these horrible villains on screen, and they're the sweetest, nicest people in real life.
I know, which is nice. It's always I'm always happy when people aren't, villainous in real life.
So you guys brought back a lot of characters from the original Fear Farm, but you also had some new characters, which was a ton of fun. So what can you talk about, maybe the experience of working with a returning cast, and also the experience of working with some new faces?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fun part is like, in doing a sequel, I mean, this is the first sequel I've ever done in anything that I've, shot or directed. So that was immediately just fun to do a sequel. I know all the returning cast was super excited because none of them had done a sequel to anything either. So like the minute you call people up and you're like, I'm sending you a script, we're doing a sequel, like everybody was overly excited about just, being able to come back, do a sequel, flesh out their characters more. I know John, Littlefield, who plays Herschel Walker, I mean, he was so psyched about it. Tiana had such a hard move as an actor coming back, because basically in the second film, she has her throat sliced, so she can't talk. And so I basically, told Tiana, like, yeah, we're bringing you back. We want you back. But like, your character's on screen a ton of this movie and she has zero dialogue. So like everything you do has got to be without dialogue. And she put in a lot of work prior to filming just to try to, get that down a little bit and try to, see what that would be like. So that I think for her was a really fun, interesting challenge as an actress. And I think she did a brilliant job with it, where it's just, you have to come back as your character, but now your character doesn't talk anymore. So you still have to be you without saying anything.
Yeah, and
you
you
know?
almost don't even notice how, because she's that
Right.
good until,
She
it's a
is.
plot point where she has to, it's obvious she has to like sign stuff and try and do the little, that little scene with the charade kind of thing. But like other
Yeah.
than that, you would never know she doesn't have dialogue because she's that expressive and that good.
Yeah.
Does such a great job with it that like you kind of forget about halfway through the movie that she's not saying any dialogue, that she's just kind of miming and moving and her facial expressions. And it's brilliant. She did a brilliant job with that. So it was great bringing back all of those people, growing those roles a lot more, and then it was fun bringing in like a whole new cast to like this, universe. Because when they were filming, we filmed Fear Farm 2. We'd filmed Fear Farm 2 before Fear Farm 1 had actually come out. So we'd already got the green light to do a sequel before the first one had even come out. So that was such a weird one too, is like the first one hadn't come out. No one had watched it yet. Indican hadn't made any money off it yet, but they immediately like believed in it, and they were ready to do a sequel before the first one was even dropping. So we were filming the second Fear Farm, and so I had this whole secondary cast and new cast who had never seen the original Fear Farm. And so the whole time I was on set, I had a bunch of these people, Megan and Julia and Jessica, Mason, Taylin, Brittany. I mean, I had all these new cast of characters, and they'd never seen the first Fear Farm, and they would ask me a ton of questions about the first Fear Farm, and I refused to answer those questions because I told them basically in the film, I was like, in real life, if this film was happening in real life, your characters would have none of this information. So I'm actually really excited that you guys have none of this information. Like, you guys don't know who Tiana is. You guys don't know the relationship between all these people. Like, that's actually great. It gives you something to play with because your character wouldn't know this anyway. So I had to like keep it away from them. So I know they were really excited and they were able to watch Fear Farm. I think, God, it was, I think a year after we wrapped. We filmed Fear Farm 2 in October of 2019, and Fear Farm 1 came out in September of 2020. And then Fear Farm 2 just came out now in 2021. So they had to wait a whole year to even see the first one to realize what kind of franchise we were in. But yeah, it was an interesting kind of play, but I think everybody brought something to it. Every new actor brought something great to it, which was really, I feel like Emily Sweet and Chris Leary, and Houston, like all these characters I killed off in the first one, I think did such a great job in the roles they were in. And it's really sad when you have those great actors and they die in a movie because you can't bring them back. I think Emily Sweet did a great job as Wendy in the first Fear Farm. I love all of her work. I think she's a brilliant actress. Chris Leary, who played Rustin in the first Fear Farm, like took a lot of my dialogue and just punched it up. I had a bunch of the jokes he says in the movie in there, but then there were a lot of times where he would just ad lib on, and the 2-line zinger I gave him turned into like a half paragraph zinger, but it was brilliant. And so it's always hard when you lose those types of actors and you have to go to new actors now and hope you get that same type of thing. But I think all the new girls and Mason did a fantastic job on it. So it was really interesting to blend those two groups together, like people coming back from the original and then this new group and having them all meld together. But I'm blown away by what everybody did. I would shout out everybody as much as I could, but the second one's got such a giant cast compared to the first one that I'm gonna forget people along the way, and I feel bad.
Yeah, you managed to capture too. You captured the same essence of characters, though. You still had such a fun group, that it like you kind of like doubled the amount, but you didn't lose anything. Everyone got their like moment, and everyone still got like their, you got to, with like such a quick, relatively like back and forth to a lot of different characters. You kind of got all their personalities really well still, which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah, no, I think it did a really good job. I also realized, like, I didn't realize this when I was filming the movie. I didn't realize this when I wrote the script. I realized it when we were in post that like, there's never a time with all these characters on screen that they even like learn each other's names. Like they don't ever actually use each other's names. And I thought about it when we finished the first cut and we were like, doing like a basic credit roll where I was like, man, the audience is never going to know who played who because they never say each other's names because of the way the script's written and just this fast pandemonium that kind of happens. It just, I guess in the writing aspect and filming aspect, there was never like this scene I could put in where everybody just takes the time to introduce themselves, to each other. It's just kind of like we have to run and go. But I think all their personalities conveyed brilliantly. Like every actress and actor I had in the film did such a great job. And they actually all the funniest part is this happened in the first Fear Farm. So I apparently when I cast friends really well, because in the first Fear Farm, Aimee and Emily and Tiana, like all these people became like quick friends. They're still friends to this day. Aimee and Emily hang out all the freaking time. They're like besties, which is kind of funny. And then in Fear Farm 2, Jessica Chancellor, Julia Smalls, Megan Chiaroscuro, like all of those girls all became best friends too. And now they're all besties and they all hang out together. So all these random people I casted that didn't know each other always become friends. So I must be like okay at casting people I think that would hang out together, because they do afterwards.
You have like your own social media network there. You get like, you get everybody together and then they become friends. This might be a bit of a spoiler the way it ends, but I'm going to say it anyway. So we'll have a warning before, because I have a request, and Dante, I guess this would have to go to you. I think you need, because obviously they're selling to the Japanese businessman at the end there. I think there's got to be a scene. I was telling Tim this. We got to see a scene of John Littlefield like hanging out with these guys in a kimono, like smoking a cigar with like a little thing of sake. I think that has to be in there, negotiating the deal or something.
It very well could be. It very well could be. There is the third script is already Fear Farm 3 is already written. So there's some fun things in there. There's definitely some like check boxes with like the Japanese deal and all that other stuff. I guess I can't tell you guys much. I can tell you that the Japanese businessmen, they give Aimee a very special sword as a part of the close of the business deal, and she actually uses that in Fear Farm 3. So that's her. Every Fear Farm, Aimee gets a new weapon. The first one she had like a machete. Second one it was a bow and arrow. Third one now she's got this sword, the samurai sword she gets to run around with.
Nice.
I don't know. I feel really
excited.
That sounds fun.
Yeah,
I always love calling up Aimee and telling her she has to do weapons training. Like in Fear Farm 2, she worked with an Olympic archery coach and actually had to learn how to like use a bow and arrow, right? Ames? Was it Olympic? Yeah.
Yeah, he was an Olympic archery coach. Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, that's funny you said that, because that kind of blends into our next thing. So Tim and I are kind of requesting. He wrote demand on the thing, but we would never do that. But we're requesting some Fear Farm merch. We want some merch there, like a Gemma action figure would be awesome, and it could come with all the weapons.
We actually, I mean, there's some stuff we can do. I mean, in Fear Farm 2, the funny Florence. We have merch. We just don't have merch for sale, because like in Fear Farm 2, I mean, a lot of the characters are wearing Florence Miracle face cream t-shirts, t-shirts, so we actually made those, and we talked about like, at some point, like doing some things like that, doing some like Florence's Miracle face cream, like shirts and some other stuff. Hopefully around the time of 3 or something, maybe to the roll-in of 3 or, something, we'll see some actual Fear Farm merch coming to life. We talked about it with 2, but then with just COVID and with everything, not knowing when 2 was going to come out, not knowing what was going to happen, we kind of let it go. But I'm sure by the time 3 comes around, you'll actually see some merch that people can grab.
Nice. Yeah, because I'm sure Aimee would want, right? Like the kids could have all the like the role playing stuff, they'd like the Nerf like bow and arrow kind of thing or something.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Tim's thinking, he goes, do I want my kids to play with that?
This, but...
Yeah.
That would be great.
Maybe the young adults.
Yeah.
So guys, tell us where our listeners can find Fear Farm 2. Brian and I were lucky enough to get a screener, which we were very appreciative of. But where can our listeners check this film out?
Okay, we have got Best Buy, Target. Dante, do you know if we're in
Barnes and Noble, Walmart?
Barnes and Noble, Walmart.
And then so those are your normal like DVD retailers, if you still do DVDs or Blu-rays.
Oh, I do.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Some people do, man. We've signed a lot for Fear Farm 1, man. I was amazed how many people were like, hey, can like if I buy a DVD, will you sign it? But yeah, so going back, we've got Amazon, Apple TV,
YouTube.
Comcast, Spectrum, YouTube. I mean, pretty much anywhere they have video on demand,
Vudu.
you can grab it as well. Vudu, it's everywhere. I mean, you can find it somewhere. So definitely take the time to watch it. If you do, I guess watch part 1 as well, because it's out there. And I don't know if part 2 makes sense without seeing part 1. I'm not sure. You guys watched it. What do you guys think? You guys tell me. Do you think it would make sense if you just watched part 2 by itself?
I mean, you do enough. You do a couple little flashbacks. I mean, I would just say to watch one because it's awesome also though. So I say don't even give them the option. I say you got to watch one, then you got to watch two. So you can get the most enjoyment, the utmost enjoyment.
Yeah, I agree.
The series, because it's one of my favorite franchises out there, and I'm not just to quote you guys, I'm not just saying it because you're on there. I told Tim immediately when we got the first screener for it, before we even watched it, I said, Tim, did you see the screener we just got? This was for the first Fear Farm. I'm like, we just got one of the biggest Us movies ever. It's about a haunted corn maze around Halloween, and the people are going to be killing people off in there. And not only did it not disappoint, but it exceeded my expectations. And you could make Fear Farm 30, and I'd probably be in on every one of them watching them.
I don't know if I could write 30 of them. I feel like after a while, I'm just gonna I don't know where it goes. I think I get to start even with 3. I was like, oh man, where does this go? Like, does it end with 3? Does it keep going? And I'll leave that open. I'm not going to tell you guys, but it was definitely like one of those moments where I was like, man, do we just keep riding this train for like Fear Farm 11, or do we get off? So yeah, we'll see.
Well, Tim and I are also volunteering our services. Should you ever have podcasters in your movie? Because we could change slightly our podcast from Civil Gore to Civil Poor and be a skin cream podcast for you guys.
That would actually, dude, if you guys are interested, I swear to you, I will put you in Fear Farm 3. If you guys are serious, I will bake that into the script. I will have John as Herschel and Gemma talking to you guys on your podcast about the face cream. I swear to you. If you guys, are you guys serious?
We would
totally do that.
I was joking.
We are 100% doing that.
Yeah. Oh, no, we would love it because we support this series, and we tell everybody they need to watch it. So
that'd be amazing.
Yeah. I want the 10 set Fear Farm 1 through 10 box set a few years from now. That's what I want.
Yeah. Well, no takebacks. I'm 100% serious. I'm saying it on your show. You guys will be in Fear Farm 3. We will do this moment with you guys, and Herschel and Gemma doing a podcast. So. And we'll have to do it though with the video in so we can record it and put it on screen. But yeah, 100% we are doing that. 100%.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That would be way too much fun. I'd love it.
So much fun.
So I guess we'll wrap it up. So we just want to thank you guys so much for coming on because like I said, Dante, we enjoyed talking to you about Wilford and before, and Aimee, we've talked to you so much on social media, and
I know.
So we're so glad we got to talk to you in person. It's because you guys are so great.
Same.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, it's great.
And anything you guys need to promote, you just say the word, and we will happily share it.
Done.
Definitely, man.
Really appreciate it.
I got some other stuff in the pipeline, so I'm sure I'll reach out to you guys. We got some fun stuff going on. So
say no more. You just send it our way.
Awesome.
All right, Brian, that was a lot of fun. I wish we'd had I felt so bad because we were literally doing this interview on a work break.
Yeah.
And I had to go pick Anna up from the bus stop at 4:00. I mean, we had to I had to cut this interview short because we were just trying to squeeze it in, but we didn't want to, it's just a scheduling issue. Sometimes you run into that where it's just really hard to get scheduling to line up.
Well, I mean, Dante was in Ireland. He was in Ireland on that interview. So he, for time zone for him, it was we did not want to miss this. So
yeah, we did not want to scrap the interview, which we unfortunately we've had to really scrap some interviews because we just never could get the scheduling worked out right.
Yeah,
but I was so delighted that we were able to get this one and make it work. So apologies to Aimee and Dante for having to kind of rush that interview, but I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I thought it turned out fantastic.
Yeah, no, it was great. And and Dante, we've had on before for Wilford Lane, but Aimee, we've just talked to a lot on social media. She's always very interactive and super nice. And she was, she's exactly how I expected in person, like one of the nicest people you'll meet. And so cool and so excited about her character. And I love when we talk to people that are so excited about what they've done, what the performance that they did, whatever project they created, because it really I don't know, it fuels my excitement for it, and I have nothing to do but watch it,
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the reason I think that comes across in the franchise,
right?
The friendship among these people, the fact that they work together so well, that can sometimes make a movie greater than the sum of its parts.
Right?
It really comes out in the performances, it comes out in the direction, it comes out in everything. So it just kind of makes the movie more fun, and that's the I've always described this franchise as just fun. That's the one word that comes to mind when I talk about it. So we'll talk about it a little bit more.
And that's what Emily said too. Even before, she said, there's so many friends that were made on the sets of the original one, and how much everyone just has such a good time on these series. And and it's like these look like the most fun movies to ever be part of. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so let's get right into it. This was Fear Farm 2, of course, came out this year, directed by Dante Yore, starring John Littlefield as Herschel, Aimee Stolte as Gemma, Tiana Tuttle as Melanie, Mario Rocha as Andy, Taylon Lewis as Brooklyn, Brittany Bardwell as Emma, Jessica Chancellor as Morgan, Megan Carrasquillo as Stacy, Mason Greer as Dawson, Julia Small as Ashlyn, Petrie Hawkins-Byrd as Cole Hawkins, and Mike Valentine as Jack. And Mike's
he's our friend. He's a friend of ours on Instagram too. He's a really cool dude.
Yeah, he's very cool. He's been very interactive on Instagram as well. So the synopsis is: Melanie has just gained consciousness to discover that she's being held hostage by the Walker family so they can harvest her special skin in order to create a breakthrough skincare cream and bloom the business. Also, she's not alone. So if you guys have not seen Fear Farm, the original, I would definitely recommend it before watching this one, because this one really kind of picks up right where the other one left off. Now we do get, and we're not going to go into spoilers. Very minor spoilers, which you heard in the interview, but nothing more than that. This one does have a nice little flashback at the beginning, which kind of gives us a little bit of the origins of Herschel, how he got into the business, so to speak, which I thought was really cool. But the rest of the movie really kind of you could watch it standalone and definitely get what's going on. I think your appreciation of it will be much more if you've watched the first Fear Farm, because it really ties directly in, almost like you could almost watch these back to back as one long movie. Yeah, almost like one long movie. It's exactly a perfect description of that. Yeah. Yeah, but this one was a lot of fun. Like I was telling Dante in the interview, the Fear Farm franchise has a really, and I'm going to try to explain this because this is tough for me to explain, but you see a lot when you watch as many movies as Brian and I have. You start, especially when you get into more low budget movies, not the ones put out by the big Hollywood studios. You start to kind of get a feel for them and how they're going to go. And I've always thought the Fear Farm movies tend to come off bigger than their budgets and more, I don't know, I guess more fun than what I would expect of a movie at that budget range. And I think it's because you got these great people with these great performances that believe in their characters, and there's this really good balance of horror and comedy, which is not easily done. No. And I think we've seen when it doesn't do that. Yeah, and I think that balance comes from horror fans making a horror movie for other horror fans, and that's what Dante's doing. And so you really get the sense that there's this playfulness to it. There's a little bit of kind of a self-parody a little bit, but not to the extreme. It's a very I'm trying to think of self-deprecating in a little bit of a way. Kind of like the first Scream almost, how but in a good way. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in a good way. Yeah. So I think that's what comes across, and I think that's why I feel like I've enjoyed these movies more than I might have a movie with a similar plot line, a similar budget, kind of a similar feel, because all of that comes across on screen, and you really get the sense that everybody involved in this is having a lot of fun making it, and that's something intangible. You can't create that. You can't really put it on paper, but you know it when you see it, and that's what I've gotten from the Fear Farm franchise so far. Yeah, no, this franchise is very, very unique, where it kind of, there's some similarities to other movies in there, but this one just does it like almost to perfection, where it doesn't seem like you've seen something before. Like, sure, there's the little silly one-liners that the characters give, and you're like, oh well, that's in every movie. What do you mean? Yes, but for some reason with this one, it just they cast the characters so perfectly, and the characters look like they're so in for the ride and so much fun that it just makes such a great movie. Like what you heard in the interview especially with Aimee's character, she loves playing that character, and she understood it so well, and she kept it
continuous for 2 movies exactly how you would expect this character to act. And you sometimes you see that in sequels going on where the character kind of shifts a little bit for some reason. And whether it's the creative by the writers or directors, or it's the actual actor themselves that decides to change it. You see, like one example, and I know this is probably the only time you're ever going to hear the Fear Farm franchise compared to the American Pie franchise, but if you notice, and I always say this and it bothers me, American Wedding, Stifler is like way over the top, crazy in almost a weird way. Like he doesn't fit. Like It's like almost like he's not the same Stifler as you saw in the first 2 and then American Reunion. And why? I don't know why. The whole movie seems off because of it, though. And so it's like that's a character that is a signature character. Everyone, you think of American Pie, what does everyone think of? Stifler, right?
Right.
Well, at Fear Farm, one of the characters that that you always think of is Gemma, and she is like a kind of, and I wanted to tell this to Aimee, but I was like, like with the shortage of time and so much going on, but she really is a part of the glue to this franchise because she's such a standout character that is essentially supposed to be a villain, but you can't help liking her because of the amazing performance she does in it. And she's got like this, like when she was describing her character, like what she saw, that's exactly what you see on film, and that's not always the case. So that's the thing that this franchise does every time. In both movies, it always manages to deliver exactly what you want at that moment, and it's so impressive. And like this movie, like Dante was joking, like something like he'd do like 20 or 30 of these. I'd be in for every one of them. There's just something about this franchise I absolutely love. I mean, the plot alone, a corn maze and crazy, but it's so more than that. It's got depth to it. It's got like, it actually has some like a bigger picture to it that you don't find in these, but yet they don't make it. It's not a ridiculous big picture. It kind of makes sense. It always makes sense, and I don't know. It just, to me, I will defend these movies and promote these to the to the very end, because I just, whatever between what Dante brings out there and all the cast that's such as great jobs. I love this franchise, and I love I was so excited when we got the sequel. I was literally checking because I knew we were going to get the screener. I was literally checking emails like for days when I knew it was like coming soon. I was like, every day I'm checking. I couldn't wait. And I like texted Tim right away. I'm like, it's here.
Yeah, we watched it. We jumped on this one like quick. Yes.
Yeah, immediately. Like it was like I stopped, like whatever I did that night, that was it. Boom. Nope. Fear Farm 2 time. So and this you can see, like they say it in the interview where you can find it. I actually ordered a copy, my copy finally on Best Buy, because I was they had an order I was placing anyway, and so I decided to throw it on there because I was waiting to get it when I was ordering something else, because I had it in my cart and I just for some reason forgot to hit buy. So but when I ordered it there, I was like, oh my god, that's right. So I got that and a couple of other things. Also I added in to get the free shipping something. But so I have that. Both of them will be on the Monolith, and they will always have a proud place. I don't care if I take up one whole shelf of the Monolith for the Fear Farm franchise. As Tim said, he wants a 10-pack set.
Yes, I want the whole box set. Like, Full Moon brings out the Evil Bong box set or the Puppet Master set. I want the full Fear Farm.
So you want like the Toulon's
and like
chest,
it comes in like a giant skin cream container or something.
Yeah. With like a John Littlefield like promotional item or something. Yeah, I mean, so we don't want to give out too many spoilers, but we got to say I want to do some shout out performances though, because of course we could rave all day about how great Aimee was as Gemma. John Littlefield again, man, this guy, like he seemed to like come out of the blue, to us at least, and everything he's in I will watch. You don't even have to he's like the new Pat Morita, right? But he's so good. He just, like, I don't know what it is about him. It's just like he's so funny. Like even when he says it just delivers like words like in that John Littlefield way,
Well, I think he really goes 100% in all his roles, and not every actor does that.
No, he's just so great, and just the whole cast, like Mike Valentine is great. The way he plays Jackie, one of the Walker families. That's like, he's definitely not like one of the sinister ones. He's got a definitely more childlike and playful, and very very likable. And so, like it's like, some of the characters, like the villains you don't really hate in this movie. It's hard to like not to hate them because they're so good. And, but you also like the majority of the good guys in it, so to speak, for lack of a better word. I don't think they're, it's like everybody is like has their own likable moment.
Yeah, it's sort of like I compare this a lot to Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
In terms of, because you got a family of killers, and same way here is, even though they're the villains, you have sympathy for the victims, but you also have sympathy for the villains as well. And it's a weird, that's a crazy dynamic, a crazy tightrope to try to walk, is to make the villains as likable as the victims, but somehow they do it here as well. And I think it's just because you have, again, great performances, great actors, great characters.
Yeah.
That stuff kind of arises organically when all those pieces fit.
Yeah, like I thought Taylin Lewis, she was one of the newer characters. She was really great in it. She was a new addition. Jessica Chancellor was new. Of course, we've seen her in a couple things, and she's been good in all of them too. But I do say another standout we have to give is Tiana Tuttle, because I said this in the interview, but I'm going to repeat it again. She doesn't have lines in it, because obviously if you saw the first one, this is a bit of a spoiler, but if you haven't seen the first one yet, that's on you. She slit her throat, so she survives, but she can't speak. But yet she's so good in the role, you forget that she can't speak, unless the only time you're reminded of it is when it's a plot point. When they're trying, she has to communicate, and you would be like, well, why didn't she just say it? Well, oh yeah, that's right, she can't speak, but she's so good. Like physically in this, the way she's, doing like the sign language and the hand gesture and stuff. And she's just like, and in the fight sequences, we didn't even get to talk about that with Aimee and Dante. There's like two major fight sequences in this between Tiana and Aimee's character that are really good. It's like one's like has a machete and the bow and arrow thing. I mean, it's really like there's a lot for everyone in this movie. And so that Tiana definitely needs to get a major shout out once again for a great performance as Melanie. So, but really obviously not going to go into any more details because it's still really new. We want you guys to see it. But so definitely check out both FEAR PHARMs. If you haven't seen the first one, definitely get on that one. And then then get right to FEAR PHARM 2. Go right after, because I have to say, once you see the first one, you're going to want to see the second one right away anyway.
Yeah. All right, Brian, so what was our beer pairing for FEAR PHARM 2?
So I found one, and it's called Maze of Haze, which is, of course, the corn maze still plays a little different part as it did in the first one, but still a major portion of this movie, of course, is the corn maze. And it's from Great Basin Brewing out of Reno, Nevada. It's 6.5%, and here's a little description. It says, sometimes you have to get lost to find what you've been after all along. We brewed this hazy with a French Barbe Rouge hops, giving it a twisting note of kumquat and berry that finish in a hoppy, piney finish. A brew pub exclusive release. So you got to go there. Sorry. You have to bring like FEAR PHARM 2 with you on like your iPad or something and watch it. You should buy the digital copy too, and you can watch it at the brewery, I guess, while you sip this fine beer.
All right. So our triple threat last week, we were looking for a movie.
Yeah, David Terry got it.
David Terry got this one. Good job, David.
Yeah.
The answer was I Spit on Your Grave from 1978. So the clue number one was I was originally released in theaters with a completely different title. So the film was originally released in 1978 with the title Day of the Woman and was poorly received at the box office. In 1980, distributor Jerry Gross renamed it I Spit on Your Grave after a 1959 French drama and re-released it. This time the film received more publicity and became a key target of Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel's campaign against films featuring women in danger.
It's funny, though, if you watch the documentary, their disdain for it actually promoted it.
Oh, I'm
instead.
sure it did. I'm sure it did. Yeah.
They don't. You can't mess with horror fans. You sit there telling horror fans they're not going to want to see something like that. They're going to just go see it more. So if you were trying to stop it from being seen, you failed, Siskel and Ebert.
As much as I respect film critics and Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel, they made some colossal blunders. I thought, especially when Ebert came out against video games as art at one point, and I'm like, why even pick these battles? You're not going to win.
You're not. Yeah.
Clue number 2. My writer and director was inspired to create me after a chance encounter. So listen to this story. Meyer Zarki said he was inspired to make the film after helping a young woman who had been raped. He said he, a friend, and his daughter were driving by a park when they saw a young woman crawl bloodied and naked out of the bushes. They picked the girl up, took his daughter back home, and talked with a friend about whether they should take her to the hospital or the police. They decided to take her to the police first. The officer, who Zarki described as not fit to wear the uniform, insisted she answer questions about her assailants before she went to the hospital, even though her jaw was broken and she could barely talk.
Ugh.
Finally, Zarki insisted to the officer that they take her to the hospital right away. He later found out the girl was attacked while taking a common shortcut to meet with her boyfriend. Soon afterward, the girl's father sent Zarki a letter of thanks for helping his daughter and offered him a reward, which Zarki turned down. Wow.
Yeah, and everyone gave him such a bad rap for the movie, you know, of like promoting violence, but he promoted the empowerment and revenge. I mean, he basically created a kind of a subgenre.
Yeah, I think people are looking at it from the wrong perspective sometimes.
Right, and if you look, when you hear this story, you see which side he was trying to convey, you know? And this was discussed in the documentary, too, I saw, which you really should watch, Tim. It's a really good documentary.
Yeah.
It's on Tubi.
Yeah, I want to watch that one. Clue number 3, a very popular slasher sequel was filmed in the same location. And that was, of course, Friday the 13th Part 2 from 1981 was filmed in the same locations in late 1980.
I don't think I ever caught that. They look different enough.
Yeah.
They did it, I guess the angles are everything, right?
Yeah. All right, so our question this week, we are looking for an actor or actress, so listen closely.
I think this is a gimme, by the way. I think this is pretty easy.
This one should
What
be
do you
pretty
think?
easy, and the clues are short, so you have to really pay attention to these. Clue number 1, I am the only person to play this role more than once. Clue number 2, in perhaps my second best known role, I played my own father. And clue number 3, I have a band named after me. Who am I? This one should be pretty easy, guys. You should be able to get
Yes.
this one.
Yes. The first two clues are very easy to kind of... I was trying to look for a little softball one because I thought last week's could have been kind of tricky. So
Yeah. So there's your gimme for the month.
Yeah.
All right,
Next week, it's hard.
Our fan topic food question of the week from David McHugh, Horror Mailman on Twitter. What are some of your favorite unlikely heroes in horror movies? And even before we started recording, Brian and I were going over this and going, "What? How in the world do we answer this question? This is a tough question." Because my point to Brian was, aren't all heroes in horror movies unlikely because they're in danger usually from a vastly more powerful threat?
Right.
And the fact that they ever survive is pretty unlikely in real life. So I was having a really hard time with this question. So we were looking at it from a couple of different angles. The one I came up with was the young boy from Child's Play, played by Alex Vincent. So to me, that was an unlikely hero because he's a kid. Now, granted, you might say, well, Tim, that's not unlikely because kids never die in horror movies, which might be true. But if you're looking at it as like a realistic happening or something that happened in real life, Chucky would destroy this kid. He would have been able to like take him over. But this kid was so strong and happened to, he managed to basically convince everybody that this doll was alive.
Yeah.
Somehow. I mean, I know, he had a tough time of it, of course, but he persevered and he made it through and he survived. So I love that character as one of my top unlikely heroes. I think he's a great final kid. And you don't see that very often.
No, final kids are kind of, I mean, there's one famous one, of course, which was, Jamie Lloyd.
Yeah,
but
Andy. I don't know why I was drawing a blank on the name Andy, but yes, Andy from Child's Play. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was trying to think of. I came up with one that it's kind of a funny one, but it was kind of always in the back of my mind in one of our trivia. So, I think I said Ted, which of course played by Stu Charno in Friday the 13th Part 2, because he went with a bunch of other counselors that were there, and only Ginny and Paul returned. Stu decided to find an extra hours place that they all went to. I assume he grabbed the rest of the group because he was the only other car there. So he inadvertently, by being such a goofball and a drunk, basically, very unlikely, saved probably at least another 6 victims of would-be Jason, because they never got back. And by the time they probably got back, it was already the morning when the police was there, and Paul died or did not die, depending on what side of that camp, no pun intended or pun intended, you're on in there. But so I put him there. But another one Tim and I kind of joked around about is Reggie from Phantasm, because he's like kind of a goofball wannabe musician. What is it, like Ice Cream Man?
He's an ice cream guy, and he's not he's not the leading man material. Let's face it.
No, not even close.
No. I think he's probably one of the best unlikely heroes in all of horror history, film history,
and one of the most likable ones, because to me he was one of the most likable characters that I've seen, especially with the Slaycation. He, to me, is one of the things that made the Phantasm movie so great. Was his character. So to me, and he very heroic at times, but I can't personally, nothing against the profession, but I've gone to a million different Good Humor and Mr. Softy trucks. Not one of them would I trust going against the tall man. I'll tell you, I haven't seen one yet that I kind of put that stake in to, and I bet you they don't play the guitar as good as him either.
No.
So, but yeah, so that's one too, I think. And, other than that, it's really hard because of Tim's point. Most villains in horror are way more powerful on paper than the prey that they go after or that they face. So what other, what could be one? Maybe. I mean, we love Dee Wallace, so we think she could do anything. I mean, could she be one in Cujo? Because here she is, a mom, defending her child, but you wouldn't think that could fend off a killer dog, something like that. Would that be considered that, or is that kind of goes against the first argument where it's like, well, obviously.
Well, yeah, that's one of those things. Like, I feel like every final girl is unlikely. Now, granted, that's not to say that all the final girls are weak or anything like that. It's to say that you're always set up for them to be unlikely heroes. Like they're always set up to be the victim until they're not. So in my mind, they all seem unlikely, or at least they're portrayed to seem unlikely, because if they were the heroes, they would start out as the heroes. If they were likely heroes, you know what I mean? So it's that's a tough one. That's a really tough question, but I think it generated some interesting discussion there. Right.
And actually, one more thing to top this off. Another one could be like one of those characters where you think kind of seems very villainous or creepy in the beginning, but then they turn out to be okay. Of course, only David could answer this question to us, what the spirit of the question was, but I'm wondering, that could be something too. Like, it made me think of I can't really say it without spoiling it. So, but the movie, but there's some movies where there's just a character you meet in the beginning, and he's a little a little off, a little kind of an oddball. You're not quite sure. You're kind of almost pegging him for the.
I just thought of a really good one.
Oh, what is it?
I thought of a really, really good one. So, Get Out. The Rod Williams character, played by Lil Rel Howery, he's like the comic relief the entire movie.
You're right.
But he ends up becoming the hero.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. Yep. Oh, and another one. It was a movie I just rewatched with my sister-in-law when she was in, because I wanted to show it to her. The kind of like the a-hole boyfriend in Anna and the Apocalypse. Remember? I was like, oh, he's so dead. That
one actually made me mad. I just.
Oh, really? Because you wanted him dead?
Yeah. Here's my. Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't want to go on a spoilery Anna and the Apocalypse.
Oh, but people probably have watched.
But if you've already watched it by now, I hated that she wound up with the a-hole. The good guy got the shaft big time, and she wound up with the a-hole, and that was the. It felt like the moral of the story was the good guys don't win. And I understand the whole point of the movie is there's no Hollywood endings, right? So it's not going to be the ending.
I mean, they flat out sing that to you.
Yes, they basically. It's not a surprise. They tell you there's no Hollywood endings, but it just still sucks. It sucks as a viewer that the good guy loses, the bad guy wins the girl. And she's okay with that. She's perfectly fine with it. That really makes me mad.
Well, I think she kind of did it on her own term, and I don't think she's like, and right. I mean, at that point, she's not really with him. I mean, she's with him by circumstance.
Right?
I don't think
So we don't know. Like,
she still does not have any kind of like. I don't think there's any romantic feelings for. I mean, in a sequel, if there's ever a sequel, which I hope there would be, maybe they would go into that. But
I don't know that. Again, it's a dumb.
I know what you mean, because like Tim and I always kind of fancy ourselves as like closer to the John character in that, where like the good old guy, trying to, like really the nice guy that tries to maybe
do the right thing.
We've all been there. I mean, we've been in there before we were happily married, where we probably I'm sure both of us have been there where we've liked someone and they kind of were just thought of us as just a friend, and then
and they go for the guy that treats them like crap.
Yeah,
for some reason.
But I mean, this I have to say though, she doesn't really go to him after. She kind of still keeps him at a really like.
Yeah.
I would say arm's length, but it's more of a candy cane's length if you watch the movie.
And again, the movie, like Brian said, the movie literally sings you the moral of the story. Yeah. Before you even watch the movie.
Which is part of its brilliance.
Yes.
I love that movie. I can watch that any moment. It's a great soundtrack. But of course, see what you did, David McHugh. You got us back on Anna the Apocalypse again.
Well, tis the season, so we're coming.
It is coming soon. If that would totally be like if we ever did like one of those. Remember, like I did last year for Halloween, where I watched like a marathon. That would definitely be in I think a holiday. Watch marathon.
Speaking of holiday watches, I'm promising. We've threatened it for years now. We are doing the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles commentary this year.
Period. Oh my God, especially because Tim and I last night doing Back for Blood. And that's the funny thing. Back for Blood warned you that they're going to listen to your conversation. They listen to your chats online.
They're going to record
to make sure that you're not breaking any rules. We must have, we had about 5 or 6 in a short period of time dropping like
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles quotes. Yeah, so that's happening this year. And you guys don't have to download it. We're going to record it, and I'm going to put it on the feed. And you can listen to it or you can not listen to it. It's up to you.
It's kind of like a
I'm doing
Patreon bonus without Patreon.
Yeah, it's a free Patreon bonus that you don't have to be a member of Patreon for, which we don't have anyway. And you don't have to pay for. It is a free and open invitation to what you could actually do do we want to do a commentary? Do we want to do actual watch party? I don't know if anybody would join us for a watch party. I don't know.
Cody would. She said she would, and we could. And Cone would.
Yeah.
You know what? I know. Part of me wants to do like, kind of, I mean, because here's the thing: if we did a commentary on it, literally, it'd be probably just us quoting the lines right before it happens.
Yes, it would be just us laughing hysterically right before the line is delivered.
So maybe the watch party is probably better because then we could just make little comments on it.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll pick a night. We'll brainstorm and try and pick a good night and start promoting it. We'll do a little just fun watch party because if I'm sure we'll make sure we find it that if it's available on places, to make sure. I think it's always kind of on some kind of channel. You can probably always find it. I have a good Blu-ray of it. Yeah, maybe we should just like pick a time, watch it, and like just kind of watch along together and pretty much just know that Tim and I are hysterical laughing on each other's respective homes because that movie is like one of those ones I could always watch. And they're still talking about the sequel. The remake, which I mean, it'll be probably great. It'll probably be hilarious because it's got Will Smith and was it Kevin Hart, right? They're the two. But there's something that I don't know. John Candy and Steve Martin were just like comment. Like this is the heart that they both.
And John Hughes writing. I mean, there's no.
John Hughes. There's something that's like going to be magical about that. That's not going to probably be present in this one. I mean, this one could be just as funny, if not funnier, in a different way. But
it will not be. It'll be terrible. I'm going to go ahead and say that.
I was trying to be positive, but yeah, maybe Tim's right. I don't know. But either way, it's not going to have the lines that Tim and I quote incessantly on the way back from Atlantic City. I can tell you that.
No. All right, guys. We will get out of here, and we'll be back here next week. I think we're going to do the new Paranormal Activity.
Yep. I think that's our thing. So watch that if you want to join in on listen to the discussion. And so there you go.
All right. Stay out of those corn mazes, guys.
Yes, except if it's the Walker ones, because they're kind of cool people, though. Yeah, they're kind of fun. They may kill you and scrape your skin off, but they're cool.